How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? That's an intro you haven't seen in a couple of weeks because
All
we've been
right.
off for a couple of weeks, but we are back here with the latest episode of RetroWave Reviews, and I'm actually pretty excited about this one because this is an episode that I've been looking forward to doing for a while. I know a lot of you guys have heard of G4 in recent times, not for any good reasons, but we're going to take you back to a happier time, and to help me do that tonight, I got a few guests who are here with us once again. Let's go ahead and just start off with our good buddy who we don't get to see very often anymore, but is here tonight. Mr. TW Booty Hunter, how you doing tonight, bud?
Yo, what's up? I'm doing somewhat well, trying to do this green screen shit, trying to get this going. I just
Working
got
out the
that,
kick.
yeah.
That's cool.
Whatchamacallit, I've been sick for like the past few days, still kind of sick. I've just put this like vapor rub shit on me, hoping that's gonna help.
my
Hoping I'm
God.
not coughing through the whole thing. But yeah, it's great to see
Apparently,
you guys.
that's a Puerto Rican's cure for everything. Vicks.
Oh yeah.
Even though it doesn't do what everyone thinks it's supposed to do, but that's a conversation for another day. Speaking of Puerto Rican Vicks, we're here with Cold Classic Cage tonight. How you doing?
Chilling, bro. Everything's been good. Successfully took the animals to the vet. Jet threw up twice, and he ate it both times on the way home. You'd think it wouldn't be so appetizing the third time around, but apparently he ate it as though it was the first time you'd eaten it. So that's what I was dealing with. I'd say that's a thumbs up there.
Yeah, dogs are very bright and very dumb at the same time. I mean, it's like, they may save you from a fire one day, then the next day they're eating their own shit. Yeah. So it's kind of a roll of the dice of what you're going to get when it comes to animals. And speaking of pets, we have our good friend Nerdigans who's back with us tonight. And you want to show off your kitty once again?
Yeah, my kitty was smart. My cat is so smart. As soon as he heard that the stream was coming on, he came right out from under the desk and into my lap.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked earlier, I'd asked Ziggy if Jennifer Lawrence smoked crack, and he meowed right afterwards. I'm like, okay, I thought so too. I'm glad that we have this agreement.
For those of you guys who haven't heard Jennifer Lawrence statements today, tune into the Black Pill stream in about a couple hours because we will be talking about that tonight. Quite possibly, she may be the dumbest woman on earth. I know we asked that last week with Alyssa Milano, but Jennifer Lawrence legitimately seems like she's a dumb.
They're competing for first place, dumb bitch.
Exactly. Like, that's the thing, though. It's like Alyssa Milano just says stupid things, but I think Jennifer Lawrence is like legit dumb. Like, her IQ can't be above 70.
It's like Alyssa Milano. She says things thinking that she's intelligent, but like she has no sense of reality whatsoever. So she thinks she's extremely intelligent until she spews her bullshit on the internet, and everyone's just like, "You said something really dumb, and here's why." And
Please stop.
And Jennifer Lawrence is just like, I hate my family, and I'm dumb, and I'm blonde, or whatever the fuck her color is now.
Oh man, what happened with that's the girl from Charmed and Who's the Boss? What happened with her? I haven't really been much on the internet.
She dug herself into a hole going after Elon Musk and even buying a car that was literally created by Nazis. But that's a topic for a different day. We'll leave the Alyssa Milano slander for another podcast. Quick little shout out to our guys who are in the chat with us, joining us here once again tonight. We have Neo who's in the chat, so shout out to Neo. Our good buddy's always here with us, Duke Nukem. Yeah, G4TechTV. We'll get to that here in a second. And yeah, like I said, Cassie's here in the chat, and Hustle Motive is also in the chat with us here tonight. And then, of course, Neo giving a good little shout out to everyone here tonight. So let's go ahead and get this one show started. As I asked some of you guys before we went live here, how many of you guys have experience with the old network G4 or TechTV from back in the day?
Me.
Yeah.
Always do.
So how many of you guys were around back in the TechTV days before G4? Any of you guys stretch back that far?
I wasn't around in those days. Nah.
Yeah.
So obviously we're dealing with a network here. If you guys have followed this channel over the last year or so, a lot of people have been talking about the downfall once again of G4. They tried to bring the network back as a Twitch and YouTube type of exclusive thing. Didn't work out. It ended up failing in about 10 months. And to be quite honest with you, probably failed in the first few weeks. But, it took 10 months for it to officially die. This was a network that, was very popular back in, the mid to late 2000s. I think it peaked somewhere around 2008. And then very shortly after that, it lost all of its viewership because no one wanted to watch episodes of Cops and Cheaters 24 hours a day. And then the network died. DirecTV said there's no value in this, so we're going to take it off of our networks. And then G4 was not heard or seen from again for nearly a decade. Now, for most people, like I said, if you remember the recent acts of G4, you had Frost and her whole rant, a whole bunch of bullshit that went on behind the scenes there. If you remember G4 in its prime, you probably remember shows like X-Play and Attack of the Show. Very few people remember a very brief era between 2004 and 2005 where G4 was a part of another tech-related network called TechTV. Now, TechTV was a digital network that was started by the founder of Microsoft at the time, who decided that, hey, you know what? If G4 is going to be a network for gamers, then I want a network that's solely inclusive into technology. So it's like, hey, let's do a show where we do shows about podcasting, about the early stages of the internet, things around those times. And they had some pretty popular shows. As a matter of fact, if you look at the origins of X-Play was a TechTV exclusive. So X-Play actually came from TechTV to G4 during the merger, and then even Attack of the Show was a rebrand of the Screensavers. So the two most popular shows in the history of G4 actually came from TechTV, but not too many people remember it before the merger. In 2008, because our tech billionaire wanted to send a bunch of satellites up into the sky and decided that he needed money to support that venture, he ended up selling TechTV to Comcast. And Comcast combined both their networks for a very short-lived brand called G4TechTV. And it was a brand that started in 2004 and ended in 2005. Essentially what happened here is that TechTV had their home offices in a little place called San Francisco, while G4 was primarily out of Los Angeles. When the merger happened, they brought all the people who came over from TechTV down to LA and promptly fired them about 6 months later. So if you were wondering, yes, even back then, Comcast were nothing but a bunch of assholes. But leading up to this right here, we ended up getting a time where if they had stayed the course as far as content goes, G4TechTV could have had something because they had, for a brief period of time, the best of both channels. And I'm going to go ahead and show you guys some of the content here that they had back in those days that had a lot of people excited about the potential that G4TechTV had, even though that potential was pretty much dead in the water as we get deeper here. But Nerdigans, let me ask you a question. Do you remember a little show called Anime Unleash?
Yes, I remember Anime Unleash. It was a long ass time ago, but yeah, I remember it briefly.
So Anime Unleashed, for those of you guys that don't know, keep in mind this is about the early 2000s, was a show, for the best way I can describe it, for lesser known anime TV content, right? Everyone back then knew about your Digimons and your Pokemons and your Dragon Ball Z, but Anime Unleashed was an outlet that really gave Western audiences a window into the world of, I guess you could say, real anime. I don't want to throw Pokemon completely under the bus there when I say that, but it was a window to give Western audiences something to look forward to. If you were a fan of some of the, certain projects, you can look at what they had here. I have a video here that I wanted to show you guys, and we can talk about it here, especially you nerdigans. Here are some of the Tech TV intros that they had back in the day for Anime Unleashed. So this is essentially what you would watch if you saw it back in the day. Now, obviously, we don't have the full intro to a lot of these shows because a lot of the old school anime intros were copyright claimed at the time. But Nerdigans, let me ask you a question here while we play some of this video. What was the anime show that you looked forward to the most here? Did Tech TV introduce you to anything that you hadn't seen prior to its airing?
I'm trying to remember because back in those days, I was more into this was during the Toonami. I think Toonami was coming to an end, so this was more so the Adult Swim days of anime. So I don't really remember watching Anime Unleashed that much because Anime Unleashed was more so focused on, if I remember correctly, it was more focused on subs, English subs. And in those days, I was more of a dub person. I hadn't dabbled into the world of subs just yet. So
you hadn't completely crossed over to the dark side here, is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, I hadn't completely crossed over into the world of otaku just yet. Like I didn't really cross over into otaku-ness until like when did I cross over? Like in 2016 was when I really crossed over into straight up otaku.
Yeah, so I remember back then there was a couple of shows that I really liked. One was, as a matter of fact, I think it's actually coming up here, or if they're about to play it. I wanted to make sure that I didn't skip over our bumper here, but yeah, Better Men was definitely one of the ones that I remember because it had sort of that old school like Ghost in the Field type feel to it, look to it. So that was like one of the shows that I remember like at the time. And then I also remember because they used to do a programming block like around 10 o'clock at night. This was on the West Coast at the time. I'm not sure if you guys had different hours on the East Coast, but back then when you had so many channels and you like during the early days of digital cable, it was like, what can I possibly watch? I would just sit back and like watch a lot of these old shows because it was like, for me, I had pretty much no context of the Japanese anime scene at the time. I think it was around the time that Adult Swim started playing like Cowboy Bebop, so it's like I was kind of interested in what they had to give back then. So this was a programming block that late at night I would really enjoy, especially after Raw went off the air, or back in the days when like wrestling was over. You just cross over to watch this stuff and watch it before bedtime. And yeah, they had a lot of great content, a lot of things that they introduced you to. I had a short list right here on some of the shows that they have. It looks like the Wikipedia right and removed that, but I think they're also in the course of removing some other questionable content, which we'll get to on another date here. But I'll make sure I had a list of the ones that they did air. Yeah, so these are some of the ones that they broadcast on the network at the time. Battle of the Stars, Betterman, Blue Seed, Boogie Pop, Phantom, Colorful, Crest of the Stars, Duel, Gatekeepers, Gene Shaft, Last Exile, Silent Mobius, The Soul Taker, and Wolf's Reign. So they were really good at giving people some more like obscure animated stuff that they probably wouldn't have seen otherwise at the time. And this was something that ran for 4 years. It started in 2002 with the rise of the network, and then unfortunately about a year after Comcast bought it, they essentially shut down the program. So we didn't get any more Unleashed for that period of time until they would eventually come back. So I mean, like I said, for its time, considering the variety of content you were getting, I really truly appreciate what Anime Unleashed brought to the table. And it's kind of unfortunate that they gave up on it so quickly, but as we show you here later on in this show, they gave up on a lot of things prematurely. So so now we talked about Anime Unleashed, let me guys ask you this one. What do you guys remember about a little show called G4's Arena?
Oh, I don't remember any. I don't think I've watched that.
I don't remember that much about G4's Arena. You got to refresh me on it.
Okay, so G4's Arena, it is very funny how this show started. So this is before G4 merged with TechTV. So this is old school G4. This is about as old as you can get, like the very early days. Yeah. So what happened here was that they decided that they were going to do a gaming competition show because, like I said, you have a 24-hour show that needs content. So it's like, hey, let's get a bunch of teenagers on here. Let's get a bunch of young adults. We'll put them on teams and they'll play games like, Counter-Strike, or whether it be Mario Party, games within that spirit. This is in the very early days of like LAN parties and online gaming with the rise of like the PS2 and stuff. But here's the thing. It's like, it's G4 back in 2002. We don't exactly have much of a budget for this show. So the way that this show worked is that they didn't pay these guys to actually be there. They would pay them in pizza. So it was like, hey, you guys can film the show for us for a few hours. We'll give you pizza, and then you guys get to be on television. So these guys were like literally there for like hours during like production halls and things of that nature.
So many labor laws.
Oh yeah, they skirted a lot of labor laws back in those days, and there was the show went through a couple of iterations. There was one where Will Wheaton, I believe, was like one of the early hosts of the show, and obviously Will Wheaton is a complete bag of douche now. So I think no one really cares too much about Wheaton in these days. But he was one of the OG hosts of the show. Kevin Pereira, even before he started doing Attack of the Show, was a part of this show as well. So he was like Kevin Pereira, I believe, is the oldest tenured G4 host in all of G4. Obviously, if you count Adam Sessler, he's the TechTV because he started when it was ZDTV, but actually G4 proper, he's been the guy who's been there the absolute longest out of them all. So and then we also had one of my favorite guys who unfortunately passed away years ago. I think it was due to like a botched like knee surgery or something like that. But Lee Rediman, who died, who was a very, very entertaining guy. But essentially what happened is that he went in there to get like knee replacement surgery, and I guess like a blood clot in his leg and went to his lung. So it was one of those type of situations. Yeah. But I do have a little bit here that I want to show you from G4 Arena to kind of give you a glimpse of what the show was like back then.
All right.
Welcome back, everyone, to Arena. I'm Lee Rediman, along with Michael Loud.
I remember this.
I remember that guy.
Yeah,
he passed away, unfortunately.
Glue out of the Four Horsemen.
Nicely done. The unsung heroes used a very basic but effective strategy, killing their opponents every time they got near the flag.
Now let's see how our teams felt about MechWarrior and what they think of their chances in Unreal Tournament 2003.
When MechWarrior started, we figured, all right, we all have specific abilities and we all prefer something. We switched around our runners. I turned into the runner, and we had another one of our teammates become our chaser.
Their strategy was they put all their mechs in their base. They were all heavy mechs, and I just didn't have a chance as a runner. If you're gonna play these guys again, you need to use the joystick and you need to pick heavy mechs and storm their base.
As it's going, we're getting better at it. And
keep in mind, you're talking about literally like the days of like 2003, 2004 gaming. So you're talking about the PS2 OG Xbox era. You're talking about these games.
Bad, What we gotta do is we gotta wait for that.
Back when you didn't have to deal with kids cussing online.
Yeah, that wouldn't be prevalent for another few years.
The enemy's base, but at that point we were just too far behind. We lost the match. What can I say? I mean, they outclassed us on that one.
After our victory in MechWarrior, we were feeling kind of confident. We knew that if we want to win in Unreal Tournament, we're going to have to keep on them and keep them down, and make sure that our snipers do their jobs. And hopefully, I can get in and steal a couple caps. Our strategy for Unreal Tournament is to basically make sure that we keep them down, and make sure that if they do decide to cap, make sure that we snipe them.
Wow.
Yeah, if I could be honest here, just to pause for a second, this was one of G4's best show, as Hustle and Motive here says. This is one of the shows that they eventually brought back. I think a few months ago, they actually tried to bring this back with the recent G4 adaptation. And if you recall, this is the one that a lot of the WWE superstars were involved with. So Xavier Woods, who has Up, Down, Down, was involved in the reboot here. And they brought in people like Liv Morgan. I think Becky Lynch might have been involved in one episode. So they tried to make it more of an up, down, down type of format rather than the OG format. But thanks to certain people involved with the reboot of the new G4, that didn't last very long. And now Arena is once again very, very dead. So, but this is back when it was actually entertaining and had hosts that you kind of actually
Sounds
liked.
like snipers might play an important part in our next contest. Now, both teams
I remember. I think he
he
was on Shoot one time.
Everyone's locked and loaded.
Yeah, cringy Lynch.
So let's see how they fare in Unreal Tournament 2003. Now, let's take a look at the game played on the Alienware gaming system powered by the Intel Pentium 4 processor.
Phase 3 is the third evolution.
Oh,
of
that
this
shit
map.
sounds old as
Among
shit.
the
I'm just gonna
additions-
throw that out.
which makes it difficult to see around. Also, our jump pads, which will
It's like if you're
advance
playing like
across the
modern
map. They
PC
will be
games
useful
today, all that shit sounds like
successfully
Betamax
capturing the flag.
texting.
It totally does, huh?
Pestilence and the other three horsemen move
Yeah, you're talking
out.
about, what is
They
this,
need to
Unreal
focus
Tournament,
their
I think?
efforts on
Yeah,
rounding
this is like
out
2003, so
Not
this has to
getting
be like
Pestilence
original
warps up
Xbox.
to the lightning gun and takes a
Yeah.
sniper
Yeah,
position.
it definitely
Gamma heads
is.
outside toward the red tower. We didn't see him take much of an offensive role in MechWarrior.
You know, those jump pads are my favorite feature of the new Unreal. They propel you huge distances in a matter of seconds.
Kate is the first to enter the red base. and grabs the flag.
Unreal Tournament was
No
a
one's
popular
surprised.
game back
Actually,
in the
there's your
day.
surprise. Death
Yeah.
pays a visit to Kate.
Yeah, I never played
Gemma
it, but
returns
I
the favor.
kind of regret
He also
not
grabs
doing
the
it
red
when it.
flag.
When
Yeah,
it
it's
was
one of those
fun.
things where
Gemma
I
has
didn't,
a respawn
for some reason,
death
didn't
on
get
the
the chance to
tail.
play
I've
it.
got to give Death
Which
credit.
I do
Yeah.
regret
Right
because
idea. How
it's
much
one of
damage
those
can an
games
infant
that a lot of people
gun
look
of an
back on
assault
pretty
rifle?
fondly.
Well, Death
Do
takes
Do you
a hit
recall
from the
playing a
lightning
game
gun,
called
and he goes
StarCraft?
down.
Anyone play-
Looks like
Yeah,
Dante's having
I played
some
that.
I know of it,
cherry
but I never
picking,
played
yeah?
it.
Yeah,
Sniping
like
would
I,
come into
I
play
wasn't
in
big
this
into
game,
like
definitely.
like these type of games back then because I was a console guy. I wasn't much like a PC guy. But that was like one of the ones I remember like playing when they had like our middle school. So that goes to show you how far back in the day we're talking.
Right.
Flag before he transports outside.
Well, Dante walks around the ledge of the blue tower, obviously not scared of heights.
But is he afraid of lightning is more the appropriate question here, Liam. Yeah, not exactly sure what the hell Famine is trying to do here.
Well, Famine respawns inside the red tower. He looks
By
around
the way,
for
for all
some
you
weapons.
younger kids out here, this is what gaming used to
Okay.
look like 20 years
Deja
ago.
vu, typical
Yeah,
one.
exactly.
Kate shows off a bit by jumping
This is
down
when
on top
gaming
of
wasn't
the red
political.
flag for dramatic
No,
effect. No one
when people
appears to be
actually
in a
tried
hurry
to
stop
make
him.
good, decent
Now, how many
games.
horsemen does it take
Right.
to snipe an unsung hero?
I know.
Yeah,
Two.
it's back
One
then
to
it
try
was like
unsuccessfully, and the other to
a lot
watch
of
him.
uncharted
Well, it's like
territory, and there was a lot of
taking candy from a
innovation
baby, shooting
Yeah.
ducks
constantly
in a
in gaming.
barrel.
Since Gamma
Especially
scored
that
in
time
round one,
from
the four
moving
horsemen
from
might have
2D
been
to
fooled into
3D.
believing that Kate
It
can't
was
run
a
the
big
flag
time
in
for
Unreal
gaming,
Tournament.
man. I
But
was
that's
like
only what happens to
basically a
fools.
child of the
Fools.
3D era.
I'll get you there.
And
He's
This is
skipping,
what
he's hopping
games
here, he's
like
jumping his way
You
to
could.
round
They were
two, a
even if they
victory.
were full price, they were at least finished.
Yeah.
Yeah, and games that there would be
Famine
occasionally
eyes a
games that
host
weren't
of
finished, but
weapon
guess what?
play
Nobody
toys
remembers
and
what they
stops
are
up
because
for the
they
win
failed.
side.
Nope.
It's not like now.
It's
It's
64
not-
that people remember. 'Cause it
And
was
keep
that
in mind
bad.
that this was the days before microtransactions as well. When you
Oh, hell
actually
yeah.
could play like full games.
Yeah, I miss those days.
Welcome back to Arena. I'm Michael Loudon here with Lee Rearman.
Now, the four horsemen rode in today, hoping to introduce the unsung heroes to the end of the world. Unfortunately for them, it's the unsung heroes who are handing over a man-sized dish of apocalyptic terror.
But the four horsemen aren't out of it yet. If they can win the Need for Speed Hot Pursuit 2 game point, capture the total accumulated kills point, and the
It's sad
Intel
thinking
Pentium
about
4
kids
processor
growing up
MVP
now
point to win the
and
match.
gaming
Michael, bigger
not
Michael.
really being nearly as fulfilling as it was when we were
You mean
kids.
saying all that in one
Yeah.
breath?
When we bought a game, we got to live the
Well,
thought
friend,
of being in that fantasy.
I
Now
would
when
like to
kids
hear
buy
if
the
the four
game, they
horsemen
have to
have
pay
figured
$70.
out what
Then they're
went wrong
fucking
with
hit
their
with
strategy.
storefronts that for $20 skins, and then
If
if
I
you
could
want
do
this
Unreal
DLC,
again,
you
actually,
gotta
I had a
pay
good strategy
fucking
at the end
$40
because I
for
figured
that.
out
It's
that
like
if I
a never-ending
leave, I could
money
avoid their
pit,
snipers
where it's
because
like
they had a bunch of snipers
it's hard
up at
to
the top.
immerse
I was
yourself
avoiding their snipers
in these
and
games.
I found a back
Well,
way
not
into the
just
base.
that. Then
If I was
there's
playing
the-
these
then there's
guys,
the
one guy at the
censorship.
base,
Then
and
there's
everybody
the
else
from
rushing their
fucking
base,
asshole
Yeah.
going for the
localizers.
flag.
It's all about making sure that
Oh,
your
yeah.
team morale is high. If it's low,
That's
then
why the
you
way
talk
to
to
go
them,
is
that's when
PC
talk to.
gaming or go
So
retro.
this time when we came in and we got some cabs
Or
over
in,
here,
or
and
in the
they were
case of
feeling it.
JRPGs at this point.
We were.
I'm in a constant
Not
state
on
of
our best,
preparing
like,
for the day where
we
I
are
say
actually a
I
little better than
have
that
no
most of the
interest
time.
in
I
modern
felt
games
like
anymore.
this was going to be the nail.
I don't know
If
when
we
it's
put
gonna
them right
come or
here,
if
it was
it'll
just gonna
come,
put
but
the morale down.
I'm
If we stop
preparing
them early
for
and we
that
stop them,
possibility
quickly,
because
then they're not going to
gaming just isn't
Well, what can I
isn't
say?
as
These guys are
satisfying to
really
me as it
good
used to be.
players.
Yeah.
I'm getting to the point where I might just import
with
games.
their lives.
At
After
this
winning the
point.
first 2 rounds of Unreal
Considering-
Tournament and Mech Warrior,
I say this, you know, as someone who's
Kind of
been
like a
through
sigh of relief,
multiple
you know,
stages,
we're about
multiple
ready to
generations, I guess
finish
you can
this up
say,
right now.
of
Hoping
gaming
that we do
consoles,
well
things of
now.
that nature.
With
Like
the
I
speed.
started
I
off
think Nick has a good
playing
chance.
video
He's
games
really
during
good.
like
He's
the
a
Super
good
Nintendo,
gamer,
Sega
and I
Genesis
think
era. So that
has
was
a
like
little
the
bit
era
chance
that
of
I
winning.
got
I hope he
into
does.
it. Then
No,
we
that
shifted
actually
from
be a
that
little
to
bit of
like the
redemption for us.
PS1
Need for
and like
Speed,
the
we're gonna have,
Nintendo
my
64
buddy,
era.
David
Then we
Fuentes.
went
He's
from
gonna be
that
racing
to
the
the
best
Xbox
console game that we have on
PS2.
the team.
Then we've gone through 360, PS3, and now here we are where we are the PS5, which nobody has because they can't make enough of them. And then we have what the Xbox One, is that what they're calling it now?
The Xbox Series S and X.
Yes, the next year it'll be some new device that has some other new ridiculous name that everyone's going to get mixed up. So
as they duke it out in a lap
it's
knockout.
crazy because the type of gamer I've always
always
means whoever
been
is in last
is the
place
type
at
of
the
person
end
I wanted
lap
every
will
console
be
because I didn't want any game
out of
Let's
my
take a
reach.
look at this high-speed
So I never
accelerator.
really had an allegiance.
Start your engines.
But like nowadays, I'm just thinking
Dante's
next
on top in
generation
the
of
yellow
just going
Porsche
all
while
out
Pestilence
PC,
hangs below
like
in the
with the
smoke
top
and
tier
silk.
PC and
Oh,
just
we
leaving
start with a
consoles
little
behind.
Porsche love
That's what
affair.
I'm trying
As
to.
Pestilence tries to
Yeah.
overtake
This was
Dante,
the days
Dante,
when-
however, is not having any of it. He
Days
drives
when Pokemon
Pestilence
was
right into the
fun and
wall.
you
They aren't
actually,
even
like,
paying
gender
attention to the other
Yeah.
two cars who
wear
pull ahead.
skirts,
That's because they're the
and
one to
there was
destroy one
actually
another.
good
This is
looking
going to be my kind of
NPCs.
race.
The two cars
Back when there was
finally
only
break apart,
200 or
and
something
Pestilence
Pokemon
pulls
instead of
ahead.
1,000.
Dante takes a shortcut through the
Exactly.
ruins.
You had a
and
national
catapults
deck
himself
too.
back into
You don't have
flames.
the national
Now, a little bit
Pokedex
further on,
anymore.
Dante tests his cars here with
Yeah, because there's too
Pokemon
many
is-
of them now.
Pokemon is so laughable because the traditionalists say, why are they
Yeah.
changing the way that it is? And then people, the people that Pokemon is now trying to appeal to say, why did it have clearly
Dante
white-looking characters
lunges at
that have
Pestilence, who pushes
tanned
him
or
back into the
blackened
guardrail.
skin? It's like they
It
can't
backfires. Dante gets
appeal
big air
to
and
anybody
reclaims
because
first
of how
place.
ignorant
Going
they
into
are.
lap 2, Dante, oop.
Then you have the
runs over
roided
a
up
cop's
women up in
spike
there too.
strip.
And it's
Right
like,
behind him,
what
Pestilence
You
the
mean
takes
the
road
Machokes?
Now he's
The
got a bit
female
of Swiss
Machokes?
cheese as well.
Dante's busted. Pestilence tries to hobble away, but he too is busted.
I agree.
Might as well.
Albeit a far more.
I say I know Spencer's getting PTSD right now watching some of these games. It's like, yeah, do you remember back in the days when we had like arcades that we can go to, and these were like the games you played
Right.
with your friends?
The roadblock.
Hey, I went to an
Actually,
arcade the other day, okay?
Going into a turn. Now that Porsche is smoking.
I went to
for
the
a
arcade with
different
my
reason.
friend and we
Dante
played Mario Kart. It
approaches
was
lap
amazing.
3. Oh, but he
And
runs over
the
another
arcade
spike strip.
Mario
Busted
Kart,
again.
you could
Wow.
play as
What a
Pac-Man, so
horrible
I played
time.
as Pac-Man.
He's gonna have a
Oh.
hard time getting back up to speed after that spike strip. This could be Pestilence's big opportunity.
No, but
Yeah.
what's funny about
Or like a
Pokemon,
fistful
the
of
newer
dirt in the
Pokemon
face
is
as
like
the
as I was
computer
getting
crosses the
pictures for the
finish
article
line.
I was writing,
And
I was like, oh my
knocks
god, how
Pestilence
did the
out of the
village people
running.
get in here?
Checkered flag goes once again
And I
to
saw
Dante.
the construction worker and he's like,
Yuck.
you look
Pestilence
so
is
goddamn
gonna
gay.
have
I was like,
trouble
what
with his
the
insurance
hell?
company after that race.
Well, I'm not sure what you're
And
talking
then I saw a guy that
God.
looked
I
like,
think he did
looked like a
exceptionally
cop.
well, save for hitting some walls,
then,
full of cars, signs, and
just
spikes.
like, I kept seeing these characters, I'm like, oh my god.
He knew what to
And
expect
Game
and
Freak
it
Live
showed.
told that you
Yeah,
put
but towards the end there,
village people
Pestilence
up in
wasn't
Pokemon.
hauling
This is
butt.
the weirdest
He was
thing.
hauling a piece of
Yeah.
scrap metal. Still.
So, I mean, as far as the show arena goes, this was pretty much the format of the show. The host would change periodically. I think they changed the host like every season that they did this, but this was the format of the show. You just put one team against another team, you pay them an absolutely fucking nothing, and give them a little bit of TV time, and boom, you had content. So, and another thing that I really liked about this show is that this really did predate like almost like a full decade and a half. A lot of the exports competitions that you guys like see now today, like this is to be something that you probably see on premium on Twitch. Like you get a bunch of gamers, whether it's Rainbow Six Siege or things like Rocket League and things of that nature, where you get now you have like professional gaming teams, people who are actually like sponsored by like agencies and get paid like millions of dollars, shit like that. And so this is one of the bright ideas that G4 had back in its early inception, even before they had shows like X-Play and Attack on the Show. And it's just like, is this kind of creativity where it's like, if you at least had guys, those guys who were still in charge during the merger, then you probably could have had something far more than what G4 turned into, which was just hours and hours of cops reruns and cheaters reruns and a whole bunch of just other laughable garbage.
Yes, I get it.
I've got a date.
Yeah, with the turd. Yes. Now
All
let's
right,
see
well,
what
we'll
the
pause this one
MVP
here for now because I want to bring up another show because I want to throw it back to you guys here. How many of you guys remember the days of cheat codes? Remember when games used to have cheat codes?
That was my
Oh,
shit.
yes.
That
Dude,
was
With
my
action
shit.
replay.
Exactly. You just do like some voodoo with the controller, and all of a sudden you have like
Exactly.
God
Up,
mode
down,
and
down,
infinite
left, right.
money mode and all that stuff.
And then there's Game Sharks and action replays that you could buy. But then there's I think did Nintendo like figure it out and then like block them on the DS or some shit like that for.
It sounds like something that they
I think
probably would have
so.
done. I wouldn't put it past them.
Yeah, exactly. Especially
You're
with
not
being
wrong.
Nintendo. I mean Nintendo.
I don't remember what happened with the Game Sharks, if it was Nintendo or someone like figured out the Game Sharks and like got it banned. I don't remember
Yeah.
who it was.
Yeah, Soul Assassin. Yep, exactly. Kristen Holt. That was her name.
Well, I'm so glad that you brought this up because another one of G4's early ideas back in the early 2000s was a little show called Cheat. Now, you have to keep in mind, this is during the era of video games where the PS2 and the Xbox were a thing. And even though cheat codes weren't as prevalent as they were during, the N64, PlayStation, Genesis era, you still had cheats somewhere in the game. And Kristen Holt, who is now known as Kristen Adams now because she's wonderfully married. I just want to throw that out there. And yeah, she was the host of the show. So this was a feel of what you got back in the day watching G4's G4 Tech TV's Cheat. And essentially, it is what it says here. She hosts a 30-minute show, and she'll tell you how to do certain tips, tricks, open up cheat codes for games that you would normally play on the PS2 and Xbox era of gaming. So here's a little clip of Kristen Holt hosting G4.
Welcome back to Cheat's All Viewer Request Edition. You've been logging a lot of hours in the Kingdom Hearts universe since the sequel came out. And when you were stumped, you wrote us at cheat@G4TV.com. So we're here to hook you up with some hot tips for the coolest unlockables. Because that's how we roll. And what have you done for me lately? It's an all-viewer request show right now
like
on
the chick
Cheat.
from the When a Stranger
First
Calls
up,
remake.
It seems that many of you
Yeah.
like zombies.
G4 did this on purpose.
I think she's
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
good.
Because every man wanted
You
to see
gotta
on
keep
his
those
life with
zombies
her.
down. Once they start organizing, they're gonna want the vote. And then they'll buy a house in your neighborhood.
You know what cheat
and then
codes
they're
are
eating your brain at the
nowadays?
next key party.
Fucking
For these and other
microtransactions.
codes,
That's your cheat
on the
code.
web at
Yeah,
G4TV.com.
literally.
Yeah, you literally have to pay for
Or
the
make
cheat
your
codes
own
now.
request
That's where we're at.
cheat@G4TV.com.
That
Until
is
next
insane.
time, I'm
Exactly.
Kristen Holt, and you've been cheating.
Oh yeah, cheating
or
on
potpourri.
was cheating on their wife
We've
with her.
got cheats for Prey, Tomb Raider, The Battle for Middle Earth 2.
Yeah, by the way, she was a former
Scrolls of
Dallas
Oblivion.
Cowboys cheerleader as well.
In case you missed
Yeah, I
anything
can
from Prey, you
Oh,
can catch all
okay.
these codes
Makes sense.
and more on the web at G4TV.com/cheat.
Man, I
Now
love
let's
this
see
show.
what our old pal Lara Croft is up to in Tomb Raider. Gosh, I look
I remember
at a strong
writing
female
notes
character
down
like
and
Lara
shit.
Croft, and I think
Yeah.
that's on you, Hussy. Now, are you
I
ready
used
to
to
rock?
get like, you know how the
Now, being a vampire
PS2
sounds cool at
pamphlets
first.
would have
Powerful,
notes
you
in the
live
back
forever, and
of the
Yes.
pamphlet?
Oh,
But
You know when you
can't
got a
drop out of
pamphlet in
sunlight
your
or
video
you'll burn
game
to a
case?
crisp.
Yeah, I would actually
You have
write
to drink
cheat
blood
codes back
every
then.
stinking day. And
Oh,
forget
yeah,
about
I would
getting
keep
a car
that
loan.
inside those
Vampires
cases.
are a notoriously bad credit risk. But here's how to cure your vampirism in the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion.
Oh God, Elder Scrolls 4. How many have there been now?
For this
That
one,
is
I
my
want you to
favorite
picture
one
me as
still.
Tina Turner in Mad Max
Skyrim,
Beyond
I think, is
Thunderdome.
honestly a
Ready?
piece of shit in
Okay,
comparison
here
to
goes.
Oblivion. A lot of people
Welcome
think I'm
Yeah.
to the boss battle.
insane, but I'm sorry, Oblivion was a better game.
Let me
No, it
ask you
definitely
guys
was.
this one. Do you guys remember the Game Shark booklets where you like
Yep.
you get the disc and then like you can you basically use like the Game Shark book and you can find like a whole bunch of like game breaking codes to like any
Yeah,
like
I remember
PS2 or PS1 game. I had that for a while. I think it was Yu-Gi-Oh! Dueling Kingdom that I played at the time, where I basically just gave myself all the best cards and blew through everything on easy mode.
Yup. I remember that shit.
Mhm.
You guys want to laugh at me?
Go ahead.
So, the first time I'd hooked up my Xbox 360 to play video games online, I had to play Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare Online. The first fucking day. This had to be like maybe the 5th multiplayer match I played on COD 4. I basically introduced to immediately people talking shit. So I decided to talk shit too. And I was like 14. I was like a 14-year-old girl that sounded like an 8-year-old boy, and I think I still do for the most part. But this dude was just like, "Hey, I want a cheat code to like fucking win this game," and I'm like, "Hell yeah, sure!" And they basically told me to put in the inputs to quit the game really fast. I didn't realize it because I was an idiot, and I ended up quitting the game.
Yeah, man. There's no cheat code to the what you would call it, like multiplayer. Which thank God, because I mean, there's already people that cheat in those types of modes anyway.
That was the introduction to basically hardening my spirit to be able to deal with people talking shit to me. That was the perfect
There are a lot of
introduction.
shitheads.
They're the worst.
Oh yeah, Game Genie. I remember that one too.
Oh
You
yeah,
know, Because up in it's Call of Duty, Halo, and I think it's Grand Theft Auto now as well. That's where all the little kids go to like fuck everyone over and like cuss everyone out and say all this racist type of shit. And I remember my assistant manager at the time. She was telling me, she's like, I can't believe I have to deal with these motherfuckers. They drive me nuts. And she said to just like go on YouTube and look it up, and I did. I couldn't believe all the racist shit coming out of these kids' mouths.
Yeah, there was no chill. There was no fucking chill.
It was absolutely no mercy.
But yeah, it's like it's one of those things where is it bad? Yeah, but honestly, it made me a tough person. Like, you know how much shit people talk to me, and I was like that 14-year-old girl cursing right back at them, like in the most heinous of fucking ways. And it's just like I'm like talking shit to like grown ass men, clearly grown ass men, and they were talking shit to me. But like that really shaped me to be able to deal with just people acting wrong. Like I'm able to mentally deal with that. It doesn't bother me. A lot of people have a hard time being able to crack my shell because honestly, COD lobbies shaped me, man, for society. Nothing's easy.
Exactly.
I used to say this all the time, but it's like if you've survived a Modern Warfare 2 lobby, there's really rarely anything anyone can say to you that can like really emotionally affect you after you've heard some of the things that have been said to you, particularly by children.
I used to do such stupid fucking shit on Call of Duty 4. Like literally, I remember going in a lobby and just purposely laughing the whole time. Like, just constantly laughing to the point where it pissed people off. And they were cursing and saying the most heinous shit to me, which made me laugh even harder. And then it was just a constant thing. They called me all the worst shit you can think of.
Like that's why, like when I see Phil Spencer like coming out and saying like we're gonna do all this stuff to make Xbox online multiplayer like a safe community, I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? When was
honestly,
this
man,
like 2008?
Look, I'm not saying that what we were doing back in the day was right by any means, but honestly, now it's fucking boring. Like unless I'm playing with my usual suspects, gaming is boring online. Most people aren't in lobbies. They're afraid to talk shit. A lot of them now, since they have like this on PS5, they have this like easy report feature where they can actually have your voice recorded and send it to Sony now. It's just like, what the fuck is the point?
My god.
I have thousands upon thousands of dollars invested on my PlayStation account. You think I'm really gonna put my shit at risk because Sony out of nowhere someone that spent thousands upon thousands of dollars on their platform? Like that's how stupid Sony and Xbox is because they do the same bullshit too. It's sad, man. Gaming is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be juvenile. I don't go on Call of Duty to act like a fucking adult. Like it's supposed to be the ghetto.
Oh my god, do you guys remember the kid that always claimed that his father worked for like Microsoft for some dumb shit and trying to get you band-aids to force you to be nice to him or some shit? It's like, get the fuck out of here.
It's like nobody believed that. Nobody bought it.
No, it's like you're trying way too hard now.
Oh man, but there was one time where my brother was talking shit to some people on Call of Duty, and the next thing you know, our internet went and we were freaking out.
Oh man.
Yep. Now I will say this: how many of you guys remember a little show called Filter? Is this raising anybody's memories? A little show.
Yeah, I actually do remember that.
So if you remember, Filter was essentially just a top 10 variety show, right? So the whole concept of the show is that, they'll do, hey, let's do the top 10 video game heroines. Let's do the top 10 arcade games, something around that realm. And it was essentially like, I wouldn't call it quite like TRL, because if you guys are old enough to remember what TRL was, it was one of those shows where you call in and vote for your favorite music video of the day. Then Carson Daly sits there with a bunch of fucking fucking teenagers and who wanted to kill himself while he
Screaming
plays
at the
like
top of their lungs.
the same Backstreet Boys video 50 times in a row. So it was back during those days. But here you had a show called Filter, which is very much a video game variety show hosted by a woman named Diane Mizota. I want to make sure I get her name correctly here, and we will talk about her here in a second. But this is what you got for G4TV's TechTV's Filter. So here's what you got here.
What are the best coin ops from the past 25 years? Do arcade games even have a future? And what the hell is a forgasm? It's time to turn back the clock as we break down the best arcade games of all time.
By the way, she's Japanese American.
Yes, we are, Spencer.
And welcome to Filter.
See, Mizota, I was close enough.
Video game countdown is voted on by you, the viewer, at G4TV.com. Once upon a time, there were no Xboxes. Memory cards were the stuff of childhood fantasies. And
by the way, this show ran from 2002 to 2006. So unfortunately, post-merger, it was one of the many victims that got axed off of Comcast's lineup. So if you want to blame anyone for shitty TV, blame Comcast. They are the #1 culprits. So
I honestly didn't remember that it lasted that long.
Yeah, it had a couple of different hosts. I think Howard Stern's wife hosted it in like its final run. So
it was the era of the arcades, and for most of you, it was the time of your lives. That's why we're here at the Family Amusement Corporation in Hollywood to count down the top 10 arcade games of all time. So, what defines an arcade game as being great, and what are some of the greatest arcade games ever? Here's what a few of you had to say.
Hold that thought, Hustle.
Good arcade games should have a good addictiveness factor. A lot of shooting, a lot of action.
Just really fast paced, so people can get through it fast and keep interested in it.
A good arcade game should keep me entertained, give me a good value for the money I'm putting in.
Yeah, it shouldn't be political.
Basically,
yeah. Well, back then that wasn't even a thought in anyone's mind.
Yeah.
No.
Nah.
It wasn't. It's not a thought in anyone's mind about if it's racist or not.
The Virtual Fighter series, the Street Fighter
all about
series.
playing
Those are the
games
ones that
and
garner
honestly
tournaments.
togetherness, man. Like
action.
everyone just
Yeah,
wanted
exactly.
to play games together and
Pac-Man.
really
Super Mario
branch
Brothers,
like
going through it on
meeting new
single
people.
player.
That was like
That's
the
when you
big
know
thing
you're
back
good.
then. It feels
Miss
like
Pac-Man.
back
yeah.
then when
I really
online's
liked that game a lot
inception, like
better
we
than
just
the
wanted to
original.
meet new people of anywhere we could, you know. Now it's like now these
No, just
companies
cool-
try to
cool effects, like
stop
something
that.
looks
Really.
cool.
No, honestly.
Well,
And
With that
my
in
local
mind,
arcade
it's
got
time to
shut
sit
down
and
because
take
there was
in
drug
the best
dealing happening in
stand-ups.
there.
We start the countdown at number 10 with a
So-
return to the old school. I mean, old school. Midway released this game in the U.S. in 1978. Some 25 years later, they estimate it's pulled in over 500 million in revenue. Geez, with numbers like that, you'd think it could have done a little better than 10.
I bet I know what it is.
Go for it.
Oh, never mind. I thought it was Pong.
I thought Space Invaders was really fun, and I would always, remember that sound, that junk, junk, junk of the aliens coming down, and it would get faster and faster until you died.
Like Pac-Man, it's old school.
Spencer not paying attention. No, that's not Olivia Munn.
Nah.
I know you think that all Asian women look alike, but that's not her.
Watching an arcade in 1976, and there
Big
was,
yikes.
and you walked in an arcade, and all the machines were Space Invaders. There was nothing else. It was just Space Invaders. If you went in an arcade and you weren't there to play Space Invaders, then you weren't gonna play anything.
Space Invaders, that's always cool.
Hey, there's Hawkman.
Now, Space Invaders
Oh,
is
shit.
a really simple concept that really.
By the way, I'm not joking. That's literally the guy playing Hawkman.
Oh
As a
my
matter of
God,
fact,
that is.
No
they
way.
just
That's crazy.
they just announced that apparently they're going to be working on a Hawkman solo film for Warner Brothers, which I don't understand why they would, considering the fact that Black Adam just bombed. So I don't know. It fell upwards, I guess.
Yep.
I always got my butt kicked.
Now, Space Invaders is another really simple concept that really fun, totally addicting.
The Space Invaders was definitely my favorite. Very addictive.
It was a fun game. Just trying to get to see when it would end, if it would end. That was the thing with the older games like that. It was just, will it ever end?
In Space Invaders, you had to save the Earth, but in our next game, you had to destroy it. In Rampage, you played as one of 3 oversized King Kong.
Oh God, who remembers playing Rampage in the
Your
arcade
job was to
times?
destroy everything in sight. Utter pandemonium and mayhem were the driving forces behind this game, and that was enough to drive people back into arcades, helping offset a mid-80s coin-op slump. In 9th place, it's Rampage to the rescue.
Yeah, this used to be like my go-to arcade game back in the day.
Yeah, Rampage is a cool classic game as well, simply because it's all about destruction. You know, it's fun. Simple fun. You get up on a building, you tear it down.
Rampage was a great game. I always like to be the green monster.
I'm not sure if anyone ever played the Nintendo 64 version of this game, but it was definitely great too.
No, it's on PlayStation. I don't know if it was a sequel or not, but
open characteristics that other games at the time didn't have. Like you could go down and eat a human being, or you could just stay there punching, building, or you could like punch someone else.
Oh, Rampage,
people, which is always great.
You play with your friends, and then when they die, you can eat them. So.
That definitely made you feel better about yourself, knowing that you can grab little people and eat them.
Let's keep it king.
It was such a simpler time back then. We were all so happy. And so
exactly.
full. So somebody did
right?
ask. It was our good buddy Hustle and Motive asked us. I wonder what she's doing today. Well, believe it or not, she is still an actress to this very day, and she looks very, very well. She held up very, very well. Here's a picture of her here.
Nice.
You wouldn't even believe that she's 49 years old. So
wow, that's
there
awesome.
You go.
Good for her, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
has that same leather jacket.
Yeah, not the same hairstyle, but the same jacket. Yeah.
That's it.
So let's go on to our next show here that I wanted to bring up. So who you guys have heard or remember a little show called G4TV.com? Does anyone remember this show?
Maybe I might have to see it.
Yeah.
So the thing with G4TV.com, it was a show, was basically sort of like a call-in show, more like a talk show set up. They also did a lot of things with, conventions revolving around gaming. They had a lot of gaming news. They also had a very active online forum that they had back in the day where they would interact with their viewers of the show, because let's be honest, it's a very small budget show. They don't exactly have that big of an audience to begin with. So I think a cool little a perk for people who watch the show is like, hey, you can actually interact with the host of the show and talk about games and things of that nature. Let me pull this one up here next. I forgot to have this pulled up already before we started the show. So if you remember, the 3 hosts of the show were Tina Wood, Laura Foy, and Goff Knightley, who were the trio who were around during the early stages of G4. This is one of the original shows that they came up with, and then the show eventually got canceled once again post-merger. All of these great shows that you guys are watching right now, after Comcast bought TechTV and merged the 2 networks, they had all this great content, and they decided, you know what, let's just end absolutely all of it because we need to become Spike TV. So let me go ahead and show you guys a little bit of G4TechTV.
We're talking E3, and it's coming up.
And people, there's a couple things, the wonders
Yeah, I remember
of E3.
her.
Why can't the world get in? Why can't everyone get in? The world's too big to get in.
I mean, it can only hold so many people. And the big thing is about getting retailers who are going to be placing orders for these games over the next year a chance to see what the product is, see what's exciting coming up, and then, of course, the media. You want as many media people to be talking about your game.
It's as much as it is a big arcade, it's not. It really is a business.
They're talking about E3 in 2004.
The guys in the media and the press and the retailers would never get a chance to play any of these games because the lines would be too long.
Did I just unlock a memory there for you, Nerdigans, when I said the name E3?
I've been to E3 before. I went to E3 in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I've been to E3. E3 is so much fun. I loved going there.
I always wanted to go to E3.
Too. And I got to play. I think it was either 2016 or 2017. It was when oh my god, Mario Odyssey was coming out, and I got to play it.
Oh man,
That's cool.
I always wanted to go to E3, man. Like those shows made me want to go.
Yeah, because G4 did a lot of coverage of E3, Comic-Con for a little bit, and then they also did the CDS, which was like the Consumer Electronics show, where they give all the new gadgets that would never make it to public viewing, and just be like, hey, here's a gaming vest that makes you feel like you're actually been shot when you get shot in a video game. It's like, don't you guys want to wear this? And it's like, yeah, I'm surprised that never made it to consumers' hands. But it was cool to show off during a little convention, so people just went with it. Neil asks us a quick question here: who do you think is worse, Comcast or Sony? I personally would say Comcast, but I know there's some people who would think that Sony will maybe be worse, especially if you're a fan of Michael Jackson. But no, that's a conversation for another day. What do you guys think is worse out of the two?
Well, I mean,
that's a tough one for me. I think
Comcast just has like a lot of basically no competition in a lot of areas when it comes to internet providers, and they have terrible service, terrible basically if you need help, good fucking luck. They're infamous for that shit.
Yes, they are.
They're what we like to call a bunch of bags of douches.
Right. Kids would be getting greasy peanut butter all over the controllers. It'd be a big mess.
And trust me, the controllers are greasy enough. It's by far the biggest event in gaming each year.
It is.
All right, well, let's take a call about E3. Hey, caller.
Basically, all I want to know is any information you got on Half-Life 2. I mean, I've been following it since last year when that great trailer came out, and I was expecting...
Remember Half-Life 2 fans? Remember when that was a thing?
God, man, that was out of control.
Now people are waiting for Half-Life 3 now.
Yeah, it's like we're literally just repeating the cycle, like of 20-year intervals.
It's September 30th, and nothing really happened.
We all have been expecting.
We all were, hoping that September 30th. Well, this is what I found. I actually got to go and look and play Half-Life 2.
Yeah. Oh, this little beach party you went to.
It was a little thing at a mansion in Malibu, and they were showing off a lot of games.
Rough.
Laura, you were coming, but you lost. Laura went to the place that they were having the party afterwards.
I was in the wrong place.
She went to the wrong place. But Half-Life 2 is real. It was playable. I got the 3 levels in, and it looks great. The artificial intelligence was there. The facial animations, very cool. Physics were there. The anti-gravity gun was all there. But when we said, so when are we going to play it?
Yeah, that's a good question.
What?
When it's ready.
Oh god, look at those graphics.
No, we're really not talking
When
about
it's
that.
ready.
So there's no date yet. I do believe it will be shown at E3 behind closed doors. There'll be a video for people to watch, but no real demo for anyone to just watch the show.
You guys not like
But
money?
Scott, you're going to find out more information for us.
Yeah, it's always
I
the
will.
clear
And
happiness.
find Gabe Newell and see if I can, tie his hands up and do something to
Tina doesn't mean noogie if he has to probably get you in the door.
It's always the games that no
Half-Life
one
2
wants to be
coming up.
remade
All right, hey,
that are
caller.
remade.
I want to know why isn't everybody paying attention to Stalker?
Hello?
I am.
Hi.
I am.
Hi.
The ones that nobody wants is the ones that you're going to get.
Well,
Exactly.
we showed a little bit of it when we had the NVIDIA guy or the Intel guy.
And our drool was coming from our lips. I mean, this game is pretty.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's a really big, powerful game. Like, you need the latest graphics card to run, because there are times when it blends from the photorealistic scenes to the animated scenes, and you can't even tell.
It takes place at Chernobyl, where that new.
I remember Stalker, but I've never
Chernobyl
played
has
it.
had a second explosion, and
I heard a lot of
everything in the
people
area is
talking about
radiated
it,
and
but
toxic,
I
and
just
animals are
never
mutated. And you go in, you play this guy, a stalker.
This reminds me so much. You remember the old SOCOM games from the PS2 era?
Oh
yeah, destruction in this
Those were my shit, man. I remember getting SOCOM 3 for Christmas. I was so
everything
obsessed.
that lives and breathes has got to eat and sleep.
I think SOCOM 2 was probably my favorite out of the whole bunch.
What are you gonna eat? You gotta find things to shoot and kill, so you can shoot a bird and kill it and eat it. But that bird is radiated, so now you're toxic.
Protein bars.
I don't know if the protein bars in 2006. People are talking about it. We're talking about it. And I'm gonna find out more about it, as are the rest of us, on the floor of E3, and I'll be bringing it to you in our E3 wrap-up show.
Yeah. All right. I'm excited for that.
Thanks, Face.
So this is pretty much the concept of G4TV.com. Like I said, it was a call-in show. It was very interactive. It was very close to its fan base. And like I said, it was one of the unfortunate victims of the merger. But while it was around, it was one of the top shows and one of the shows that a lot of people still look fondly of to this day. Now, we don't have much from the host of that show. They are, in fact, still around, but they're pretty much out of the public life now. So, you can only get what you can get out of that. So... But yeah, like I said, you've already seen so far in just like the few videos that I show that this is a network that had so much great content back in the day that it's just kind of amazing to me how none of this got utilized in a better manner. Now, I do want to give a little honorable mention to a show that I tried to see if I can show any clips of. Apparently, YouTube does not want you to show anything of it. You guys remember a little show called Robot Wars back in the day?
Yeah.
Yes.
No,
Vaguely,
I always
vaguely.
like skipped it when it was on TV, but I remember it.
You know, it's funny. The reason why I know it vaguely is because I used to skip it too.
Yup, exactly. Anytime it would come on when like X Play was over, it's like, skip.
Yeah, exactly.
I wasn't interested in it.
So for those of you guys who don't remember that show, so Robot Wars, I personally preferred the UK version over the US version. There was a US version, I believe was on Spike at the time, where they tried to use like some of the same like robots and style, but it didn't have a lot of the presentation that the UK version had. Love the UK version. It had basically people used to create their own robots back in the day. It's like, well, what if I can build a robot that can beat your robot? It's like, oh yeah, so they put all these guys into this arena. You had house robots who were there to cause mayhem. You would have people building like little spinning robots that would break apart like all the pieces to the other ones. You would have ones that would blow fire, or you would have ones that would easily set on fire. Some guys would create a robot to get on the show just because they knew that it would get set on fire and it'd be a cool visual just to watch another robot burn on live TV. And that was kind of the entertainment value that we had of it. I know it lasted about 7 seasons that I know. It may have gone even longer than that one, but it was
impressive.
Yeah, and then even today, they Discovery Channel has a version of it called BattleBots, which is basically just a modern take on Robot Wars. Same concept. The only thing is that they don't have the house robots like they did in the Robot Wars in the overseas, because that one is still, copyrighted with them, so they can't bring that portion over. But it's the same concept as robots fighting robots and a whole bunch of traps and such on the arena. And yes, as a matter of fact, I did forget about this, but Mick Foley did temporarily host the US version of Robot Wars. That was like post retirement, like Mick Foley during that early 2000s era. So let me ask you guys this: who here remembers a little show called Attack of the Show?
Yep. Oh yeah.
No doubt.
Okay. Everyone remembers. Everyone remembers Attack of the Show. Everyone remembers the whole thing with Kevin Pereira and Olivia Munn. So a lot of people remember that show, but they don't remember the show that actually birthed that show. And that show was a show on TechTV called The Screensaver. So essentially what happened was that one of TechTV's biggest shows was called The Screensavers, where, as I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, they talk about the biggest stories in the world of tech. They would answer questions about podcasting, about building PCs, about if you have problems with PCs, anything that was related to the world of technology, they would have that show. Leo Laporte was the host of the show. He would have a multitude of guests throughout the course of the show. Morgan Webb, in our very early days, which I'll show you here in a bit, was a member of the show. Okay. And there was also another guy called Martin Sargent, who was also on there too. Now, for the most part, it was a serious show. They were helping, a lot of, the callers and stuff like that. So they had a good relationship with their fan base, but they would also try to have some comedic bits too. So if you guys don't remember an old TechTV G4 host called Martin Sargent, this would be a good reminder here. This is a little video entitled "Why Martin Sargent is no longer allowed to host the Screensavers anymore." So let's just go ahead and show this
for the past couple years, and I think I've given out a lot of good help to the viewers with their computers, but sometimes, rather than just admitting that I don't know the answer, hear me out, I've given some really bad advice, kind of lied. So bad, in fact, that I've been informed that I'll never be allowed to host the show again. The truth comes out. I know this will infuriate some of you, but it's for the best, believe me. Let me prove it with the top 4 reasons I'm not allowed to host the Screensavers anymore. First piece of evidence, consider this call I fielded on November 5th, 2000.
And let's go to Jim in Syracuse, New York. What can I help you with tonight, sir?
Well, I'm a long-time watcher, first-time caller. I have an older laptop computer, and it works fine, but the keyboard is starting to fall off. Is there any way to fix that?
Yeah, this actually happened to me. This laptop here is having the same. All you got to do is just take your hot glue gun and just make sure you get it all in. And make sure it gets in between the keys, too, so you get a really good seal. Basically the same way that you would mount a hard drive. Got that?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks for the call.
All right.
Yeah, didn't really. Sorry about that, Jim. I still owe you a new laptop. Well, here's
Yeah,
another
don't
one.
do
This
that.
is from December 6th,
Definitely
2002.
don't do that.
Now we're very honored to have all the way from London, England, the incredible guitarist from The Who, Pete Townsend, on the line. Hey,
Hello,
Pete.
Martin. Hello.
Big fan. What can I
Thank
do
you.
for you tonight?
Hi, Martin. I was
Freaking
wondering,
Townsend.
is there any way somebody could find out what websites I've been looking at?
No, don't be paranoid, man. You don't have to worry about it. Don't worry about it at
Great,
all. No one
great.
can find. So do you still play pinball?
Oh, yes, of course I do. Would you like to play a game?
Yeah.
His wife left him shortly after, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, sorry about
Whoa.
that, Pete. Wow, this is getting embarrassing. Here's another call. This is from April 17th, 2001. Orlando, Florida. Let's go to Sheila. Sheila, what can I help you with tonight?
Hi, Marty. Yeah, I just bought a new Apple iBook, and I can't seem to connect to the internet. Can you help me?
Yeah. What color is the iBook?
Orange?
Orange. Okay. What you need to do is reinstall Windows.
No.
Good fake. I thought that was a good fake. The what? You know,
I was just trying to get the commercial so
I like the what color is the iBook. That completely threw her off.
Had she said green, I would have given her different advice.
Absolutely.
You know? And finally, a real disaster that happened on May 3rd, 2002. Whew. Mike from New Orleans, Louisiana. Go ahead.
Hey, Martin. I'm going off to college in the fall, and I was wondering what kind of notebook computer you'd recommend. My uncle's going to help me out around $1,500.
Whoa. Take the $1,500, buy a really cheap or used e-machine, and go spend the rest on a good stereo system. College chicks dig music.
No.
And while I've got you on the line, let me tell you about this site where you can buy really cheap term papers, all right?
And actually, that's how Unscrewed was born. As a matter of fact. That's when the producers said, wait a minute.
Like, you know what? We're wasting his talents on this
There's a show there.
So yeah, this is also a pretty funny clip that I think I could play too. When Martin was on the call with this is a real caller, by the way, and he tries to hit on her, tries to mack her a little bit, and I'll just play exactly what happens next.
Really? What kind of radio program do you do?
Music.
What kind of music, like dance?
Morning
party?
show, kind of like soft rock stuff.
Awesome. So why don't you give us your call letters? We'll let you have a little plug here since you've been so nice.
WSAE from Spring Arbor University.
All right. You a college student?
Yep.
Well, Rachel, thank you so much for the wonderful email, and I'm really glad that we got a chance to talk. And we'll talk later. All right. Keep in touch. All right, girl.
Oh my god.
She hung up. He hung up right in his face. So that was some of the old magic from the screensavers back in the day. It was a very enjoyable show. Leo actually brought back his own version of the screensavers not too long ago. This is going back a few years now. It eventually ended. He's still doing his own podcast, doing his own shows. A lot of the other guys branch out into their own realms as well. But this is one of the best shows that was on TechTV at the time. And when Comcast took it over, they essentially fired everyone who was involved with with the screensavers, brought them down to LA just to fire them, and then they decided that we're just going to rebrand the show entirely to be more eccentric in the world of pop culture. So that's how you ended up getting Kevin Pereira, who ended up hosting the show, and then a little while after that, they brought in Olivia Munn, and then the rest was history about the attack of the show. But there's a little bit of history of the show before the show. And one last thing, I do want to show you a very early video here of Morgan Webb, back even before her X-Play days, when she was just a lowly intern on this show, and she looks very different than the Morgan Webb you remember from in that show.
No,
That's her.
that's a lie.
No, not
That's a
her.
lie.
The next one.
Oh,
I was trying to say.
No, not her. It was the one after that.
Hopefully your decor
That's
matches.
her.
Oh,
So
okay.
anyway, we are
Yes.
talking about
I mean,
decorating
okay.
today. It's Tech at Home Week, so we're showing you how to bring a little bit of technology
I was
and
like,
make your home life
damn,
a
she
little
definitely
better.
had gotten a nose
So I'm
job.
bringing you
for
this
sale.
furniture application. It's made by a furniture store, but it really is just simple and lets you plan out your floor plans. So now if we get scanned out, we can look at my
Thank you,
bedroom.
Josh.
This is what my bedroom looks like. Not great. So here's my bed, and here's my
Appreciate
doors, and here's my couch, this kind of thing. And it's very easy. You just select from a bunch of different
Oh yeah,
kinds
she
of
definitely had to
sofas,
develop her
you know,
talking
anything, there's
skills.
beds,
Oh,
there's
yeah.
tables. I think I'd like
Like I said, this is very, very early in her
when I just
career.
hook it,
So.
it's over here,
I
and can
swear I
use it
didn't.
wherever
I
in my
didn't
room
think.
want to.
I
And
didn't
can
think
really
she did
test out
anything
different
before X.
you know,
I mean,
different floor
I didn't
plans.
think she
Maybe I
did
want my
anything
bed over
tech
here.
related before X Play.
Yeah.
it's
When
simple,
I first watched
it's
X
free,
Play, I thought she was just like,
small
oh, it's just a hot chick on the
application.
screen.
Just go to
I didn't think she knew anything
thescreensavers.com
about
for the
video
link
games, really.
and start decorating. My email address is morgan@techtv.com. Let me know if you like this application or not. Another cool thing is you can print your floor plans and you can save your floor plans. I forgot to tell you that. That's a good part. All right, what's coming up later in the show, Patrick?
Stay where you are. Still.
Yep, there you go. There's some early Olivia Munn there. Josh
Yeah,
fearing
Morgan
her
Webb.
already.
That was definitely, that's cool, man. Definitely didn't know that she did anything before that. It's awesome.
Yeah, so
Well,
we're almost coming up to the point where we'll talk a little bit about X Play here in a second. But what was your thoughts on the screensavers as a show?
Honestly, it looked like a pretty cool show. You could tell like the backdrop for it is one of those typical like 2000s backdrops. Like I absolutely love it. I love it. It's so comforting. Like when I see it, it's just like, oh man, it makes me like just want to be it right there.
Yeah. Well, you also have to remember this is well before, you know, the days where like your modern like TV set would just be a whole bunch of like screens and lights like in the background like you see like modern TV shows. This is back in like the early 2000s. Like I said, they clearly did not have the budget to put too much into the set. So it's just like, yeah, we'll just throw a couple of desks here and we'll have people point to computers for an hour or so.
Yeah. I like that better anyway. It looks better.
So obviously I showed you a clip there of Martin Sargent. Did you guys know that he was so popular at one point he had his own show on TechTV called Unscrewed, which was basically his very own late night TV show. It was the only late night TV show they had on the entire network. It started on TechTV, and once again another victim of the merger. They brought him out to LA, brought his show out to LA, and within a few months axed. So you're starting to see a lot of the windfalls of this G4 network, even before X-Play, TechTV, and Attack of the Show got popularized in the first place. So, but I do have a little clip that I want to show you here of Martin's show. Now, he did have a co-host here, and they're basically showing you guys ways to destroy data. Now, I would say that some of this is probably still pretty relevant to this day, because who knows if you're in a pinch where, you know, maybe the feds are coming after you and you need to destroy your laptop. Yeah, maybe you need to destroy your laptop or like wipe data very, very fast and you don't have a whole lot of time to do it. Well, here these guys are going to show you exactly how you destroy data in a very timely and extremely unsafe manner. So let's play our next clip here.
Hello.
I thought she had Hulkins for a second. I was like, oh, that's
I was like, what the hell?
Of intern interviews, which may or may not be legal, but if the feds or our human resource department come a knocking, I want it destroyed. So, Kevin, I have to ask you, is it possible to fully destroy data on a computer?
It is indeed. In fact, I have my top 6 ways to destroy data for you tonight. First, this one is on the computer side. Most people think when you drag and drop a file to the recycling bin, it's gone. But in actuality, it's not gone. Just the header information has been removed. The file is still there on the hard drive. So this is actually a file I want to get rid of here on the laptop. It's a picture of Marty.
With his breasts exposed.
Yeah.
Laura Switzer, that's her name. Thank you.
I installed a program called Eraser. And all I have to do is right-click on here and then choose Erase. And once I select that, it's going to bring up a bunch of options here. What I'm going to choose is a 35 pass overwrite. And what that means is it's going to rewrite that information with random zeros and ones over and over and over again, so there's no possible way you can get that information back. The Department of Defense requires 7 overwrites. We're going to do 35 just because that's not, my kind of image. Yes,
exactly.
Next one, this here is the Royal MD100. This is going to be a CD shredder, so if you have some, documents or something that you burned to a CD you want to destroy, here, go ahead and give it a try. Just go ahead and drop.
By the way, most computers nowadays don't even have CD drives built into them.
And the nice little tiny bits there.
Does it cross-cut it? Because that's very important.
Yes. Yes, it does cross-cut, as a matter of fact. And you can use this for, like, confetti. Well, you really shouldn't use it as confetti. Actually, I shouldn't have said that.
My first computer had a floppy disk drive.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway.
That's when I moved to laptops. I had to buy one floppy disk drive that was, like, USB connected.
Girlfriend's coming over, you got to get it with some data really fast, or the feds are knocking on the door. Throw it in the microwave. Yes, if you only put it on for about 10 seconds, what's going to happen is the microwave is going to arc across the metallic surface, destroying the data. Actually, I found if you have the popcorn setting, it does nice little bursts. Take a look inside here, inside the actual device, because you're going to see it sparking right away.
Oh my
God. Let's see. There we go. Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
So, yeah, that's...
oh, shit.
Take a look inside.
What the?
I think we just smoking a little bit.
Our
I never thought to do
You can see the little hot, actually. Little hot.
Not even remotely.
My parents would have fucked me up.
Oh, yeah.
I'm glad I didn't watch this because I definitely would have been tempted to try.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Coming off of that disc. And
now I have
I would have got my ass all the way whooped.
oven. What do I? Does that?
350 for about 10 minutes. Put in, you'll be fine.
All right. What else do we have?
Next thing, this is what you got to put the gloves on. This is the little cancer-causing agents here, just to let you know. This here is actually some pool acid that we dipped this drive in. Muriatic acid. That's it. And actually, we have some footage here. Let's show. This was dipping the drive in the acid. If you notice, once the sun hits, it's going to start to boil a little bit here, and then this little time lapse here. It's going to start to fizz up a little bit. It's eating away at the aluminum is what it's doing right now, destroying all the data on the disk. And just to let you know, those fumes, you're not going to want to breathe those in. Not going to want to, those are
How long
some
did
pretty
that
nasty
take?
films.
What was the total time for that?
About 2 hours, and it's going to eat away at the heads and completely destroy the data on the disk.
And the vapors irritate the respiratory tract, so watch out, people.
Yeah, not good. Cancer-causing, stuff like that. Yeah, whatever. Next one is, this one has been destroyed with some thermite that burns at 2,000 degrees Celsius. And that is basically, it's molten iron that, well, let's just take a look at the footage here. I set this up in my backyard, and that's a pound of thermite. And the second you ignite it, there it goes. Yeah. Now that's molten iron spraying off of it. You want to step back for that one.
Quick question, Kevin. What's your security deposit on that house?
Yeah, neighbors are not going to be a big fan of this one. It does the job, but neighbors don't like it. Now we have a new one tonight, an experiment. This one we're going to do liquid nitrogen like they did in Terminator 2.
So it's possible. We haven't done this before.
We haven't done this before ever. This
may or may not work.
Exactly.
Let's just take this and move this table back a little bit here. Here we have some liquid nitrogen. You can pick this up at. Well, you can't really pick this up anywhere, actually. You have to have permits and whatnot. But we got some of it here.
Oh, boy.
Just toss this aside here. And you might want to...
What's the temperature of liquid nitrogen, by the way?
It's like negative 197.
Wow.
So, well, yeah, watch out there. Because
you might want to move out of the way.
I don't want my shoe to shatter.
If it gets on your feet, it's going to freeze your toes. And then if you try and move them, they break off. So you don't want to get it on your feet. Let's go ahead and pull out one of the... I put in a couple of bananas in there.
Okay.
Let's pull out...
Let's get our
goggles
on.
Okay, good.
All right, you put...
Pull that out, set that, yeah, there you go. Set it on the ground there. Yeah, you can see it's pretty much, it's pretty much you can do it. Now pull out the hard drive. This one's been sitting here for a couple minutes, so we don't know if this is actually going to break the hard drive. We're not sure yet, but let's just give it a little, yeah, it shatters. I don't know if that was so much a sledgehammer, but it's, you can see, yeah, it was an experiment. What are you going to do? But, 6 different ways to destroy all your data.
All right, Marty, back to you.
Wow.
All right, then. So, yeah, good way to destroy evidence and get away with it. So, did you find any good tips there that you guys want to use in your everyday lives?
Nah, complete overkill. Like, literally, like Soul just said, like, just snap the games. That's what I would always use to do whenever I would get mad at a game. Just take it out my PlayStation.
Snap it and smash it into little bitty pizzas.
See, I didn't have to do that because my brother did a great job of unintentionally breaking my screen anyway.
Yeah.
Dang.
So yeah, so if you have any information you want to keep away from the FBI, nerdigans, that'll be a good little some tips there that you want to use. Remember just to hold your breath. You don't want to have lung cancer in 5 years. So
No.
yeah, no, Josh, we get it. You can definitely see yourself out now. We're not even gonna acknowledge her. So obviously it's time to get to our last show here on the lineup. Who remembers a little show called X-Play?
We're not gonna talk about Code Monkeys? That's sad.
Nah, we're talking about the G4TechTV era, so that was obviously after this.
Oh yeah, that was a good while, I think, afterwards.
So obviously, TechTV was X-Play was a show that originated on TechTV. Actually, if you go back even further, it was a show that originated on a network called ZDTV. So that was what TechTV was before then. And Adam Sessler, I know people hear that name now, and they start getting the goosebumps. She starts itching and scratching like a crack addict whenever someone says his name there. But believe it or not, there was a time where people actually did kind of like Adam Sessler because he was kind of like the quirky video game guy. He would do funny reviews and he would be entertaining, and then all of a sudden his life fell apart and he became a very bitter, angry crack addict. So that's a very sad life.
You know what ruined Adam Sessler? It comes
He was
down
the coolest
to
guy.
Trump. No, look at his head. He went bald.
No,
baldness ruins men.
Hey, look, all I can say is that I'm bald and I don't do
a little bit before that.
You're bald and bitter too, okay? Just not as insane as Adam Sessler is. You're bald and bitter, and so is he, but he's also mentally deranged.
At least my friends still talk to me.
Damn.
Yeah, I mean, but like I said, back then he was a very colorful personality, and he is the longest tenured guy associated with the G4TechTV era. He came over from TechTV. They put him on a show called Extended Play, which is a show that he did away from Olivia Munn. And the concept of that show was pretty much the same thing, video game news, video game reviews, but it wasn't as comedic as X-Play became. When his first host left the show, they rebranded it into X-Play, and Morgan Webb, who was also on TechTV at the time, they put her on the show to be his co-host, and then they decided, hey, you know what, we got something here, we're doing funny, quirky internet game reviews. And that's what people wanted to see. They wanted to see funny, entertaining video game reviews, and that's exactly what they gave them in the TechTV era. Now, the problem is that once TechTV ended a few years after the fact, they decided, hey, you know what? We're real serious video game journalists. Let's go back to doing the serious gaming content that we did back in our older days, and they completely changed the format of the show. And people were like, well, this isn't the video game reviews that I'm used to, and you guys are doing like real news now, so I'm thinking I'm going to just tap out here. And then later, Adam got fired because he was high on coke and people hated him or something like that. But, that's a story for another day. We can talk about that later. But here is one of X-Play's best video game reviews that they've done in the complete history of the channel, and it was one for a video game called Drake of the 99 Dragons. Does anyone remember the name of this game? Does anyone ever heard of this game? This was an old PS2 Xbox era game. Does anyone else remember this?
Drake and the 99 Dragons?
Yeah.
No.
It kind of sounds familiar. I would have to
maybe you guys can refresh your memory when I play this whole bit from me. This is one of their better reviews for Drake and the 99 Dragons. This game was awful, by the way. This is a terrible game.
Sorry, I forgot to mute.
Many people ask, is Drake of the 99 Dragons based on an existing comic book? No, it's not. But if it were, that comic would suck. What was that? Okay, where do I begin? This is Drake. His skin pallor resembles moldy plasticine. He disfigured Jay Leno when he stole his chin, and his mouth is perpetually open as if he's as shocked as we are at how utterly crappy this game is. But he sure believes in himself. Nothing can stop me now. Drake is part of the clan of the 99 Dragons, except someone killed the other 98. This can't be. And he's kind of immortal or something. Drink, and you'll be strong. That's the key to immortality?
Bitter and sweet.
Honestly, I don't know what's going on here.
Do not fear. You can hear but are unable to move. The time has come.
What is clear is that Drake holds a gun in each hand and
Oh,
runs
yeah, I've
around
never
shooting
played
at
that.
things willy-nilly. The tutorial teaches combat as running away in a
Oh
circle
my
while
God.
mashing on buttons. You're such a
Looks
badass.
wild, though.
This running and gunning is aided by RetroWave.
Yeah, the camera is the biggest problem.
But
for
not
me.
really, because it doesn't work. What you get is Drake chaotically throwing his arms every which way like a sub-homicidal semaphore session.
Nothing can stop me now.
Look at this. Am I hitting anything? What's going on?
Oh no!
In case
This
you
game
recently
pissed
gouged
me all
out
the
your
way
eyes and are
off.
just listening to the show, this
I
game
feel
controls
like the
horribly.
assholes that
Running
made
up
this
the
game
stairs is an
thought
effort.
Devil May Cry 2 was great, and they wanted to do something just like it. And they came up with this bullshit.
And made something significantly worse.
And the thing is, Devil May Cry 2 is already fucking bad because of how like
Yes.
gun oriented it was. It was really
Yeah.
different and just terrible.
It gets worse, by the way.
Running is an effort. The capper of this melange of mind-bogglingly bad decision-making is that depressing the
hell
left
no.
control stick slows time. You will slow time a lot by accident as you frantically attempt to make the controls work.
Bruh.
Though it is useful for gunning down small Chinese girls.
Nothing can stop me now.
And then there's the camera. You get the sense the camera's constantly looking for a better game to depict, because it's not interested in you. Before it slips my mind, let me mention the graphics. At first, they seem interesting. Then you realize they're not. Drake himself shifts from animation to animation so abruptly, I thought I was having a seizure. Then I realized it was my brain trying to shut down because it couldn't withstand the massive suck emanating from this game. So yeah, pretty much there's no reason to buy this game. No reason to rent this game. No reason to say
this
any
game
more
gives me
about this
anxiety
game.
just watching
But I have some time to kill.
Yep.
Exactly.
Shitty
No reason to
thing.
even emulate that shit.
1 out of 5.
Nothing can stop me now.
1 out of 5.
Shut
That's
up.
charitable.
We stopped you.
Yeah, you can say they went easy on that game by giving it a 1 out of 5.
Exactly.
I don't remember if they
Nah,
actually gave games 0 out of 5s back during those times.
I don't
but,
think they did. But shit, that for sure, I wouldn't give it.
I mean, it was back in the 3D era, getting that camera to work right.
Yeah, it was always
honestly,
a pain in
it
the
took a
ass
long
on
time.
games, man.
Yeah, like PS1 was very shoddy, very shoddy.
Oh, yeah.
And when it got to the PS2, there were still some games that were a little wonky with the camera, but for the most part, they started to really get the hang of 3D gaming and what they needed to do.
So what you're saying is that there was a lot of trial and error during this.
Oh yeah, no.
There was trial and error on the N64, but the N64 had a little bit more success with camera angles than PlayStation. I think it has something to do with the dual analog sticks as well.
The DualShock
I mean, honestly, look at the N64 controller. They were clueless on how to make 3D work when you look at that controller.
hell
Like
yeah.
they were really trying to figure it out, and clearly there were some things that worked and some things that clearly didn't.
Yeah, and then the moral of this story is you should definitely leave away the things that don't work and don't ever bring them back ever. They also X-Play also used to have this little thing called the Golden Mullet Awards, where if you remember, they did a review of Aquaman. This is the old Aquaman game.
Right about that.
No, what a fucking piece of shit game! Oh my god!
Wait, what?
That's the Aquaman game is like.
Oh,
it's
hell
like
no. Nope.
Superman 64, but with Aquaman instead. That's how bad that dog shit is.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me see, because we might have just enough time to play the review of Aquaman.
Oh my god, that shit.
All right. Well, since we hyped it up, we'll play one last clip here. And this is of the Aquaman Return to Atlantis game.
This is Aquaman. Doesn't look like Aquaman to me.
This game was so bad they dedicated their worst game awards to this game for like the next several years afterwards.
This guy, he's got a blonde mullet and a claw hand. What happened? A horrible disaster at a Skinner concert? Now, if you think the Fishman looks bad, check out the game. You swim and you fight. Swim more, then fight.
You don't know why this is bad? They use the same mechanics from Superman 64.
Reminds me of another.
You know,
there you
it's
go.
also like, what is it with
Superman
like?
64.
Yeah, well, what is it with Xbox and bad PC games? Because they had a Superman game on there that I bought that was Xbox exclusive, and that was also a fucking hot steaming pile of shit too.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, that's exciting.
The best thing they ever did was like, even though it wasn't exclusive to Xbox, was like the Arkham games.
Meet Slippy. He's my new buddy that I took around my hometown. Slippy and
I figured out what's wrong with Adam Sessler. So, when he was younger, he was clearly idealistic. He was in good spirits with his idealism, and he was clearly a leftist. Then he grew up and realized that idealism doesn't work. But he's still a fucking maniac, retard that hates people that he politically opposes and wants them to die, even if they're his family members. So,
Exactly.
he's just sad that he can't be idealistic and live in his La La Land fantasy.
And keep in mind, nobody else from this era is as miserable as he is.
I was gonna say he's traumatized by shitty games like Aquaman.
Even calls him family.
Yeah, maybe the bad games back in the day broke him.
Virtually all you do in
Probably.
is fight bad guys.
No, these
Sometimes to
games
deactivate
break me
bombs,
too.
And other times to rescue these Tom of Finland rejects. You'd expect then that the combat might be half decent at least.
Oh my
This is the
god, dude.
highlight.
Even the combat is shoddy.
The controls are mushy, and some combos require an absurd amount of memorization. Not that it matters. Just hit some buttons, move on, hit some buttons. There's some sub-levels to break things up. The best way to describe them is imagine something fun, then take away the fun part.
The drugs were
Slippy
told
and I
to
were
get the
having a
bad
blast
games.
until we went to the wrong part of town.
I mean, look what he's doing.
After that,
He's
he
not
started to
helping.
act surly. I think he had too much water.
Aquaman didn't break him.
Aquaman is one of the worst games to come out this year. There's just enough elements to qualify as a game, and no more. There is not one interesting aspect of this title to even warrant a rental. Aquaman, The Fight for Atlantis, sleeps with the fishes. A 1 out of 5.
Yeah, I think 1 was the lowest that they went back then.
Yeah, exactly. They never did 0s out of 5.
Even though they probably should.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Such a bad game, but made for such a great day.
That's some good fish, though. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, that looks really good.
Mm-hmm. So there you guys have it. I've given you several clips of the old era of G4TechTV. This is a merger that began in May 28th of 2004. This is when they started the merger, bringing both of their quality shows together. Unfortunately, it only lasted just over 8 months. By February 2005, they had fired everyone who they had brought over, with the exception of, obviously, Adam Sessler, Morgan Webb from the X-Play team. Everyone else pretty much got the boot. They shut down operations. And then they decided, hey, we want to be a Spike TV ripoff, so let's spend all of our money on syndicated shows like Heroes and Cops and Cheaters, and provide fans absolutely no new content whatsoever, with the exception of Code Monkeys, because Code Monkeys was actually pretty okay for the 2 seasons that it lasted. But outside of that, you would just get that, and then X-Play in a bastardized version that they turned it into, and Attack of the Show, a show that completely fell apart the second that Olivia Munn left the network. They shut down operations in about 2012. The network was dead for a decade, and so they decided to bring it back. And then 3 little words: sexism in gaming killed G4 once again, where it is now dead for the second time. And that's the story of G4TechTV, ladies and gentlemen.
To quote Hustle and Motivate, how the fuck you die twice?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, literally.
That is my favorite quote. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Crazy.
There's just no other way to describe just the absolute incompetence involved with the people behind. You can argue behind the original TechTV team. You can also say the people behind Comcast have no idea what the fuck they're doing. They had such gold there from all the content that I've shown you guys, and they still somehow found a way to fuck it up. So now that you guys have gotten a good idea of what this thing used to be, what is your thoughts on G4TechTV now? I'll start with Cassie.
Well, honestly, those are reminiscent of the early 2000s, the good times, man.
Yeah.
Simplistic times where everything, the politics was politics and entertainment was entertainment. I remember going to G4 just so I can have someone to talk to that I felt like I was talking to someone that had that was into video games, because being a girl going to school, I didn't really have too many people to talk to video games because other girls didn't play any video games. So it's kind of one of those things where I was pretty outcasted in a way, but that was my hobby. I wasn't going to change, and I never did change. So it was definitely a place for someone that was like I don't know, misfit, can go to have fun, relate to people that were into the things I were into, and these people felt genuine. I can't say if they all necessarily were, but they did a good job of feeling like one of the boys, or a part of the crew, and just having fun and being down to earth. And that's something that's missing from everything, television, film, all that shit. So I mean, it would be nice if G4 could self-sustain itself today, but that isn't possible. Proof is in the pudding. They tried and it failed. And mostly, while it's hard to come back when YouTubers have taken over this space that they fled, what also killed them is bringing political ideology, social political ideology into it. So it is what it is.
Well, TW, let me piggyback off of that. What do you think of the G4TechTV era?
Oh yeah, pretty much my childhood, man. Literally, my whole childhood. Literally in school, I didn't want to talk to other kids. I didn't want to talk to anybody else. When I got home from school, I went to immediately turn on the game on one TV and then have G4TechTV on the other. I was just like, let's fucking go. I don't give a fuck. I don't want to talk to anyone. Just put on G4TechTV and let's go.
All right, Nerdigan says, did this bring back any good memories from your childhood? Any positive memories?
It did. Because, well, I used to like watching this kind of stuff when I was younger as well, especially since, especially as, in the later years, because I worked at GameStop, so it definitely was very helpful. But the thing that really sucks about this whole thing, especially now, is, in hindsight, is you see how simpler everything was back then. It was before all the fuckery went into entertainment. That makes sense. I mean, you had everything was so simple. Everything was just one thing. It was focused on games. We didn't have feminism or conservative and liberal or racism and all that shit. Nah. It was just games. It was just tech. All it was. Nothing more, nothing less. And that's how entertainment was back. Oh God, I sound so old saying this. That's how it was back in our day. It was it was so much easier with their entertainment. I feel so bad for people growing up now because they don't have what we had. Instead, everything is politicized, and it's so frustrating.
Yep. I'm going to ask her a quick question here from Neo real quick. It said, do you think that reality TV, the fault of reality TV is because, let me replay that. It said, do you think that it's the fault of reality TV because it's not just G4 that got affected, other shows like Animal Planet, History Channel, and Cartoon Network? I would say this, and obviously there's a lot of creative issues that led to the downfall of a lot of these networks, but you also have to remember that a lot of these early concept networks were during a time where the idea of having 1,000 channels to watch was actually appealing to people because we didn't have that at the time. So it was kind of that time period where it's like, oh my God, there's 1,000 networks. I'll never run out of things to watch. About 5 years after that, people ran out of things to watch, and people started to become very selective with the things that they saw on television. And some of these networks were ones that bit the dust. Now, I will say this, that if they had kept the original vision of G4TechTV together, where they were actually producing their own independent content, they could easily have grown G4 into a brand that could have stayed alive today. But the fact that they chose not to do that is a big reason why they no longer exist. And we all know what happened when they tried to revive a dead idea from 10 years ago. It didn't end very well with them.
Well, it could have worked if they would have just kept the politics out.
Yeah. If someone could go 5 weeks just shutting their mouth and saying nothing. This probably could have worked, but apparently certain people named Frostbitten just couldn't do it for 5 weeks. It was eating away at her that people didn't think that she wasn't as hot as Olivia Munn, which she isn't. I mean, just accept it and move on.
Exactly.
But yeah, that's the end of the G4 Tech TV era. I might dive deeper into a couple other aspects of this era somewhere in the future, but we got to wrap it up now. We got to go ahead and say goodbye to all of our people. So this is the part of the show where I let you guys promote what you guys got coming up. I'm going to start with Cassie and give Cassie the floor here.
Well, if you want to hit me up, Cult Classic Cage on YouTube. Just dropped 2 videos today. One is making fun of Jennifer Lawrence for being an idiot, because clearly that's what she is, and possibly a crackhead. And one is just talking about basically how one of my favorite games didn't get a sequel because, well, games journalists are politically oriented losers that trash the game.
Yeah.
Petty ass reasons. So, yeah, I talk about all things entertainment that I'm personally into. Hopefully you're into some things. Hopefully you recommend some things to me, and hopefully I can recommend some things to you. And tomorrow I'm going to be live streaming the Game Awards. It's going to be a goofy live stream with some of the homies, mostly goofing on fart sniffing award acceptance nonsense. So if you want to come hang out, Cult Classic Cage on YouTube.
Yeah, I might be there because I mean, God willing, I might actually win a Steam Deck. But
yeah, I can dig it. Hell yeah.
Well, let's flip it over to TW. Let them know what you guys got coming up.
Yeah, man. You can find me on YouTube, and Odyssey, and Facebook and stuff like that. It seems like I'm getting better, but I'm still kind of having my coughs and stuff. So hopefully I will be able to bring you some content tomorrow, and the rest of this week and stuff like that. But yeah, I've just been out sick for the longest, which is why you haven't really heard anything from me. But again, I seem like I'm getting better. God willing, you will get some new content tomorrow. I just can't say what it is because even I don't know yet.
All right. And last but not least, Nerdigans, you got the floor.
Yeah. So you can check out all my content on Nerdigans Inc. on YouTube, where we cover manga and anime. And also follow me on Twitter, of course. And on Bounding's End of Things, I got my Metabots article up where all 52 episodes of the original uncut episodes of Metabots are going to be available on YouTube because of the 25th anniversary. Also, I've had to torture myself with the live action trailer of Saint Seiya. That article is up, and Spencer had to be tortured by it too. So basically, Toei and Sony are declaring war on Latin America by bastardizing Saint Seiya the way they did, the way they are doing it right now. And then I have a few more articles in regards to Vagabond possibly coming back. I finished Ranger Reject, and I think I have my end of the year manga list that I'm working on as well. And I'll be back here on Tuesday and probably on Wednesday for depending on what topic we're going to discuss. So stay tuned.
All right, and then I can let you guys know what I got coming up. So in about 20 minutes here, we're going to be flipping over to the Bounding in the Comics YouTube channel. We're going to do the Black Pill stream in about 20 minutes. We're obviously going to be talking about Jennifer Lawrence being quite possibly the dumbest person to have ever walked on this earth. The comments that she's made. So we'll be talking about that and a few other topics that we have as well. And then this Saturday night, we're going to be doing another UFC fight night. It's the last UFC pay-per-view of the year. So if you guys want to join us, drink some beers, watch some fights, we'll be here Saturday night at 10 p.m. And we'll have the alert out for that one. So check us out for Saturday. Next Monday on Twitch and on Twitter, we're going to be doing movie night. We're watching Big Trouble in Little China on that show. So anyone who wants to join us on Monday night for that movie, join us on Twitch. Tuesday, Barroom Podcast will be Tuesday night. We'll be back here. And then we will be back here next Wednesday night for another RetroWave review. I don't know exactly what the topic is just yet. I had a couple of ideas floating around, but we will have something set by the time you guys back here next week. So that's everything that we have coming up. To all of my guests who have joined us here, I thank you very much.
No problem.
to everyone who joined us in the chat. We got a great crowd here today. Alex vs. Evil, Duke Nukem, Neo, Soul Assassin, Josh Spencer, obviously. I'm going to make sure I shout out everyone who I can here. BC, who was here earlier on the show. Fanatic for Life was also with us. Hustle Motive, who was here with us tonight. Very good crowd here. To everyone I shouted out, and if I missed you, I'll make sure I'll get you guys next time. Alex vs. Evil, just in case I didn't say your name yet as well. But that's all that we have coming up. And as we go ahead and say goodbye here, I do have one more video that I want to show you. It is the G4TechTV episode Goodbye. It is a montage of your childhood just to show you just how much simpler and better all these times were. So here are some of G4TechTV's greatest hits. So let's go ahead and play this video here. See you guys.
As you know, this is our final episode of G4TV.com. We have had a great 4 years. We want to thank all of our friends, our family, and both of our fans that have made this possible. Special thanks to our producer, Ken, who's always said he'd take a pie in the face, but never actually did. Not even once. And one of our fans, Jonathan Mann, wrote a song to bid us a final farewell, and we'd like to share it with you as we take a glance back at
all
some
the great moments from
all the
4
great
years
yes.
of G4TV.com.
Let's go ahead and at least 3. Take a look and talk over each other.
Goodbye.